When we're talking about Wizards of the Coast and you hear the phrase, "this will never happen," it really doesn't mean much. When we're talking about a company like Wizards of the Coast and the phrase comes up, "that will never happen," really, we can't believe it, can we? We already know that this company will do anything to come out on top. Welcome back, everyone. MTG Moxman here, and thanks again for hanging out with me on the channel today. And when you look at a card watch video, when you watch my stuff and we talk about some of these older cards, new cards, wherever they may fit, never believe the phrase "it will never happen." Because if Wizards of the Coast thinks they can cash in on something, they will. If they see there's profits to be made by linking a reserve list card to a new card to make it more desirable and make them connect, they'll do it. If they take a new card and they find a way to sync it to something in Commander, they will do it. If it lets them get access to your wallet, they're not above doing any of these things. So whenever a friend or somebody you know at an LGS tells you that phrase, "it'll never happen," I've learned in my extensive experience of being around this game this long that chances are it's going to happen. Maybe not as frequently as people think, but this stuff happens all the time nonetheless. So let's take a look at some amazing Magic cards. Let's have a conversation about some reserve list cards and some modern cards that you really should be watching. Now, the first card I want to talk to you all about today is going to be Willow Priestess from Homelands. I've talked about this card numerous times, and I'm not done talking about it for a variety of reasons. It's $6 to buy this card. It's reserve list. It's from Homelands, a worthless set. This card into itself looks very worthless right now to a lot of players. They'll say, "why are we even looking at this card?" And you've probably stopped watching the video. But you have to look beyond what the card is and what the card could be. When you look at a card like this, you see 2 green, 2 other for a 2/2, and you say it costs 4 for a 2/2 creature. When I look at the card, when I look at this, I say it has a tap effect with no mana base tied to it. Take a fairy from your hand and put it directly into play as though it were just summoned. Think about the Rankle Torbrand card I showed in yesterday's video. That's a 5 casting cost multicolored card that this card could just tap and put out. Regardless of the mana it takes to cast it, it could just put it onto the battlefield because fairy is in that name. But this card has another effect, because you got to think with Wilds of Eldraine, are we going to have 5 casting cost, 6 casting cost, 7 casting cost fairies coming into the mix? Maybe not now, maybe 5 years from now, but could it happen? Absolutely. If Wizards sees a possibility of capitalizing on new fairies coming in, they're going to do it. And that could make a card like this powerful. And Wizards may intentionally do it knowing it would drive the expensive fairies and the secondary market for Willow Priestess. But this card also has another ability. The 1 green, 2 other, and target green creature gains protection from black until end of turn, including itself. So you can protect this from all kinds of other effects from black, but you can also protect other green creatures that aren't fairies. To think this card should be ignored forever at the $4, $5, $6 level is kind of funny to me. I've already got enough copies, I don't even care. I think I got like 16 or 20 copies right now. There's a few in the Patreon box. But I look at it and say, you guys can do what you want. I think the same way, but don't tell me it could never happen. Because things like this, they happen all the time. Never underestimate the company Wizards of the Coast. Now our next card. This is from Strixhaven School of Mages. This is the Biblioplex. Now, I have already made a mistake on this card. I'm not ashamed to admit it. I bought copies at $5 each on pre-release, thinking this card was just going to be the cat's meow. It's going to be amazing. It went nowhere. It's now a 15-cent card. Do you think that stopped me from buying extra copies at that price, though? No. Allow me to explain. When I look at this card, it's a land with no drawback. It can be used right away for colorless mana. But when you look at the card, and this is a card that has a take on the Library of Alexandria, which is like a power 10. It's like one of those cards that almost made power 9. It says 2 mana and tap this land. Look at the top card of your library. If it's an instant or sorcery card, you may reveal it and put it into your hand. If you don't put the card into your hand, you may put it into your graveyard. Activate only if you have exactly 0 or 7 cards. So you can use it on other people's turns. You can use it at the end of somebody's turn. You can use this to dredge. You can use this to get an instant or sorcery card. So I've already named 5 things this thing could be used for. 4, 5, whatever it was. There's multiple ways of using this card, and it's 20 cents. Do I think it's going to stay this way forever? I don't know. I've already been wrong once, but it didn't stop me from buying the card. Because if this card ever connects to a deck and starts shooting up in price, do you want to buy it when it's $5-6 again? Or do you want to buy it when it's 20 cents and sell into the market if that's your choice? It's interesting. I already have more than enough copies of this card. And I bought it all the way down when it hit this 20-cent mark. I still own copies now because a card like this, if it hits it, they're going to change it to a mythic level. They're going to reprint it in secret layers. They're going to sell into the market themselves. I don't want to be on the buying end of that. I want to be on the selling end of that if it ever hits. I love the card. Now our next one, Hullbreaker Horror. This is Innistrad Crimson Vow, and it's already kind of a good card. The fact it has flash, and it's a 7/8, is already amazing because that means you can cast it on somebody else's turn. I can put it at the end of their turn. Yeah, I can tie up their mana for counter spells. I can wait till they're tapped out and put this in. But again, like the other cards I've showed you, it has that secondary ability. Whenever you cast a spell, choose up to 1. Return target spell you don't control to its owner's hand. Return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. And that's the one I use most often. To even unsummon my own stuff to get the triggered effect of recasting it. Or I've unsummoned my own things only to be able to cast a spell that does a board wipe, and then as I'm casting the board wipe, I unsummon the Hullbreaker Horror, wiping the battlefield and saving multiple things that I don't want to leave. I don't want them going to the graveyard. I don't want them being gone. The fact you can build decks around cards like this, it just shows me that it has multiple uses. Will this card go up or down though? I think this card will go down in price after it rotates out and after nobody cares about it. But it may be a few years till it gets reprinted, and if it connects, it's going to go up in price, and you might want to have your play set after it goes out of market. So if you wait another 9-10 months for this card, you're going to see that's probably going to be half this price, and that might be the time to pick this card up. Now let's take a look at the next card. This is Winding Canyons from Weatherlight. This again is a reserve list card that's been as high as $75. Right now in the market, it's $19. But if you went shopping on TCG Player for this card, you would get this card for around $14. $14 for like near mint, $11 for like a lightly played. There are lots of copies available of this particular card. So why do I think it's good? Again, doesn't come into play tapped. You can use it right away for colorless mana. But look at that secondary ability. 2 and tap, just like the Biblioplex. Until end of turn, you may play creature cards as though you could play instants. You give all your creatures flash. So at the end of somebody's turn, I tap this. They've tapped out. Now my creatures have flash, and I have some creature I want to get onto the battlefield to do another triggered effect or another ability. And this card could fit into any deck because it's generic. And it uses generic mana. Yes, you have to build around it a little bit depending on how you're building your deck, but to think that this card is like $11? $8 if you go for a moderately played on TCG Player? Come on. A card like this should hold value, and right now nobody's recognizing that. And that's up to them. It could stay like this forever. I already own a play set of 4. I don't need more than that. But it's interesting to see how players react with cards. And right now they're ignoring some of these amazing cards that could go up later on. Never put it past Wizards of the Coast. And by the way, if Wizards sees success in cards like this, they will reprint some different watered down version, just like they did with the Biblioplex. All right, let's take a look at the last card today. This is City of Shadows from the Dark. This card has been as high as $250 US. Right now, if you went on TCG Player, you could find this card for $38. $38 US. Moderately played, but $38. This is a rare from the Dark. Yeah, uncommon one, but it's a rare from the Dark. I love this card. I own multiple copies, and I actually buy one copy each and every month. It's one of those cards I didn't own as a kid that I guess I got to have copies now. So when you look at it now, you see near mint copies for $80. And I see this card, I say a near mint copy for $80. The Dark has a print run of around 64 to 65 million cards. This card says, tap, sacrifice one of your creatures, but remove it from the game instead of placing it in your graveyard to put a counter on City of Shadows. Tap, add X mana to your mana pool, where X is the number of counters. So every time you sacrifice a creature, I use this in my Throw Bowl deck. I use it in a few of my other decks that have creatures because I can sack them to this. There's multiple ways of untapping this land multiple times to do massive, crazy mana intensive things. And all the while people ignore it thinking, why do you have this here? Okay, you sacrificed a token, Kobold, or a token thrall. It doesn't matter. Cards like this may not matter now, but they could matter later. And they already did watered down versions in these storehouse things they gave us in Fallen Empires when they tried to water the card down. But this can be built into a massive machine, and players usually ignore it. You don't know what cards could connect with any of these cards now to make them better later. You can imagine them, you could picture it in your head, and some of them probably will come true at some point. Knowing when and why you do something though, and understanding any risks you take, knowing the cards can go to zero is always the key. It's always the key to spending money. You're playing this game for fun, and if it has a secondary value to it later on, good for you. But if not, be satisfied that you got a card you really wanted to play with and try to build something around an inventive idea. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video today. Thanks again for tuning in and allowing me to entertain you with my videos each and every day. And for everyone who's been slamming that subscribe button, helping me get closer to that 20,000 sub party, we are going to have a great time when we hit that 20,000 subscribers. We are closing in here on 16,100 subscribers. Sorry, I'm getting everything backwards at the end of the video. Nobody's watching this far anyway. I look at that and I say, that's amazing. And that's because of you guys out there helping me out. And I really appreciate it. So thanks again, guys. I will see you all tomorrow with another video. What we got on this? Oh, you guys wait till we get to the top 10 this weekend. It will blow your mind. Crazy stuff is happening, and I can't wait to share it with you. I'll see you guys tomorrow. And a big shout out and thank you to the fantastic supporters I have on my channel. You guys, my patrons are amazing. They help this content get created each and every day. These daily uploads are because of the supporters of this channel. Thanks again to each and every one of you. City of Shadows, 38 bucks. Are you kidding me? Buying 10 is $380, where 9 months ago, you had to pay $250 to get 1. Now you could get 10. I'm just saying, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for being here at the end of the video. It's a good time to be a reserve list collector. What can I say? I'll see you guys later, man. Have an awesome day. Put City of Shadows down there in the comments section. You don't know why, but trust me, sometimes good things happen.